Welcome to today's custom-tailored deep dive. I'm so excited for this one. We are unpacking the cosmic, mythological origin story found right at the very beginning, like literally chapter 1 of the epic saga dream of the Red Chamber.
Also known as Honglu Meng. And yeah, we've got quite the stack of source material today.
We really do. We're looking at translated excerpts straight from the original novel, focusing on this massive mythological setup, along with this really insightful episode guide that was put together specifically for Western audiences, to help us wrap our heads around the magical realism and the sheer sweeping scale of the story.
Right, because our mission today is to explore the profound philosophical bedrock of this masterpiece. So you, the listener, are perfectly primed for the human drama that follows. But I have to admit, when I first looked at this stack of sources, I was a bit skeptical.
Really? How come?
Well, the opening throws a lot at you all at once. I mean, you've got goddesses, sentient stones, talking plants, Buddhist monks just wandering around. It's easy to look at that and think, okay, this is just a standard, maybe slightly elaborate fantasy trope.
Right, like a typical fairy tale setup.
Exactly. But honestly, peeling back the layers on this text completely blew me away. The depth of the philosophy here, specifically how it handles concepts of illusion, reality, and what it calls romantic debt, is just incredibly sophisticated.
It totally is, and I love the vivid imagery right out of the gate. So to start us off, I want you to picture something. Imagine a magical block of stone. But we're not talking about some little pebble you skip across a pond.
Far from it.
Right. We're at a place called the Great Fable Mountain at the foot of Green Sickness Peak. The author introduces this ancient myth of the goddess Nua. The legend goes that the sky was literally broken.
Shattering.
Yeah. And this goddess melts down magical stones to patch the hole.
And the text gives us very specific, frankly, crazy dimensions to these stones. She forged 36,501 of them. Each one was 12 zang high and 24 zang square.
Which is huge.
Yeah. For context, a single zang is roughly 10 feet. So we are talking about a block of stone that is over 120 feet tall. It is the size of a modern skyscraper. But the real kicker is when she went to actually patch the sky, she only used 36,500 of them.
Leaving exactly one behind.
One single skyscraper-sized stone abandoned at the foot of the mountain.
And because it was forged by a goddess, it underwent this magical process, it gained spiritual awareness, it became totally sentient.
Right.
But now it has absolutely nothing to do. It was forged for the most important cosmic purpose imaginable, literally holding up the sky, and instead it's just sitting in the dirt.
Which is such a brilliant paradox. You have this magical object that is essentially not good enough to patch the sky, but because of its divine forging, it is now too conscious to exist as just a lifeless rock on a lonely mountain.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it. Too conscious for the mortal world.
The author is totally playing with the burden of awareness here. The stone realizes it was rejected, while all its peers were chosen for greatness. The text describes it as being filled with shame and sorrow, literally sobbing day and night.
Talk about the ultimate existential dread. I mean, it has the capacity to understand its own uselessness. And I think that's a metaphor that hits incredibly hard even today. Being gifted with awareness or feeling like you were meant for some grand purpose, but finding yourself completely sidelined.
Yeah, if we look at the existential implications, the stone's suffering comes entirely from its consciousness. If it were just a normal rock, you wouldn't care. It's a profound question for anyone listening. Have you ever felt isolated or unfit for the path you thought you were supposed to take?
Oh, absolutely.
This story suggests that the very rejection that causes you pain might also be the source of a unique, heightened consciousness that others completely lack.
And that heightened consciousness is exactly what gets our big, rocky friend into trouble. One day, while it's deep in this lamentation, two extraordinary figures wander by, a Buddhist monk and a Taoist priest. They sit down by the stone and start chatting. And they briefly discuss immortal matters, but then the conversation shifts to the mortal world. They start talking about the red dust.
And we should clarify that term because red dust is a crucial Buddhist and Taoist metaphor.
Yeah.
It refers to the mortal human realm. Think about dust. It settles on everything. It blinds you. It obscures the truth. But it's also the material out of which the physical world is built. It represents the bustling, chaotic, illusion-filled world of human desires, wealth, and status.
The clerics are going on and on about the glories and the endless honors of this red dust, and the stone, which has been starving for literally any kind of purpose, is completely captivated. It speaks up and begs them to take it to the human realm. It basically says, look, I know I'm just a stupid object, but take me down there so I can enjoy the wealth and the honors for a few years.
which the clerics find incredibly naive. The monk offers a very stern, unromantic warning. He tells the stone that the mortal world does have its joys, but they are fleeting and fundamentally unreliable.
He doesn't sugarcoat it.
Not at all. He explicitly states that in the human realm, joy begets sorrow. There's a phrase they use pointing out that perfection is always lacking, good things are inevitably haunted by demons, and ultimately, all things end in emptiness.
Wait, so the monks are laying all their cards on the table. They're telling the sentient stone that human life is essentially a trap where every moment of happiness is just a down payment on future grief, and it all amounts to zero in the end. Why on earth does the stone still want to go?
Because the pull of experience is stronger than the comfort of a sterile immortality. The stone is trapped in a state of eternal, stagnant perfection on the mountain. To the stone, even a tragic, messy existence in the red dust is infinitely more valuable than being conscious but completely useless. It is the ultimate expression of the human condition. We know life ends, we know heartbreak is inevitable, yet we still crave the experience.
Wow, so the stone insists. It begs them again and again until the monk finally relents. He realizes he can't force the stone to stay in its state of stillness, but he can't exactly walk into a human city carrying a 120-foot-tall magical boulder.
No, the logistics on that would be a nightmare. So the monk uses an incantation to shrink the massive stone down to the size of a tiny, brilliant, translucent pendant. And to ensure its magical nature is recognized, he engraves it with characters, giving it the title Magic Jade.
Think about the irony of that packaging. You take this colossal, divinely forged object that was meant to hold up the sky, and you compress all of his existential angst, its desires, and its cosmic weight into a shiny little piece of jewelry. It's perfectly packaged to be passed around the wealthy, status-obsessed mortal world it's so desperate to enter.
It is a complete metamorphosis, and it sets the stage perfectly. But the stone isn't the only cosmic entity preparing to descend. This is where the guide for Western audiences becomes really crucial, because the author establishes a second mythological origin story that runs parallel to the stone, introducing an entirely different kind of cosmic motivation.
Yes. Let's dive into the debt of tears. We shift our focus completely away from the mountain. We go to the west, to a place by the Rock of Three Reincarnations right on the bank of the Ling River. It's a very ethereal, mystical setting. And growing by this river is a delicate plant called the crimson pearl flower.
The translation of the names here is deeply symbolic. Crimson pearl hints at blood, tears, and preciousness. And this fragile flower is only surviving because of the daily care of another divine being, the divine luminescent stone in waiting. Every single day, he waters the crimson pearl flower with sweet dew.
That daily act of grace allows the plant to absorb the spiritual essence of heaven and earth. It sheds its physical plant form and actually transforms into a fairy girl. She starts wandering this realm beyond the heavens. And her diet in this fairy form is incredibly poetic, maybe even a little alarming. She eats the secret affection fruit and drinks the water of the sea of regret.
Eating affection and drinking regret. The author is literally composing her physical and spiritual form out of melancholy and unfulfilled longing. It primes her soul for tragedy. And this leads us to the core philosophical concept our guide highlights, the idea of romantic karma.
So the stone in waiting who watered her eventually feels his own mortal heart stirred. Much like our rejected stone, he decides he needs to go down into the human world to experience the red dust. He registers his intent to descend, but when the fairy girl finds out her savior is leaving, she insists on following him.
And the immortal authorities question her. They ask why she must leave the heavens, and her reasoning completely upends the typical Western romance narrative.
Right. This isn't Romeo and Juliet.
Exactly. She explains that she received the life-saving grace of his sweet dew, but she has no water of her own to give back. So she vows to go down to the mortal realm with him, and she will take all the tears of her entire mortal life and give them to him.
She is going to repay a single drop of water with a lifetime of weeping. That is... Honestly, it sounds incredibly bleak to a Western reader. She's literally choosing a life of misery just to balance an ancient ledger.
It does sound bleak from a modern perspective, but within the framework of romantic karma, it is a beautiful cosmic necessity. It reframes human suffering entirely. A lifetime of tears isn't just depression or a string of bad luck. It is a divine obligation being fulfilled. It is the restoration of cosmic balance. The transaction itself is the romance. This debt of tears elevates their future human suffering into something sacred and purposeful.
That completely shifts how you view a tragic relationship. It's not just two people failing to make it work, it's two souls successfully executing a predetermined cosmic contract. But how do we, the readers, actually learn all of this? Because the author doesn't just hand us a textbook on the gods, he grounds this massive cosmic lore in the most mundane way possible.
This is where the narrative structure becomes truly brilliant. The matrix element. The entire mythological setup is delivered through the dream of a mortal man named Xian.
Zenshian is a local gentleman living in a bustling city. He's about 50 years old, he's comfortable, he's not chasing political power, he just likes growing bamboo and drinking wine.
A simple guy.
Very simple. His only real sorrow is that he doesn't have a son, just a 3-year-old daughter.
But it is vital to note his name. Xian is a homophone in Chinese that translates roughly to true facts concealed. The author is winking directly at the audience. He is telling us that the truth is hiding right behind this incredibly ordinary man.
So it's a hot summer day. Zen Shine is in his study, the heat makes him drowsy, and he falls fast asleep. In his dream, the cosmic and the mortal collide. He sees the exact same Buddhist monk and Taoist priest walking by, and he overhears them gossiping about the stone, the crimson pearl flower, and these eternal souls preparing to descend into the human realm to settle their romantic debts.
By framing the ultimate reality of the universe as a fleeting dream within a mortal's midday nap, the author introduces the philosophical core of the novel, the interplay of Zen and Jia, which means truth and falsehood.
It's totally an 18th century version of The Matrix. In the dream, Zen Shine steps up to the clerics and asks them to explain this cosmic cause and effect. They brush him off, saying the mechanics of heaven can't be leaked, but they do let him briefly hold the magic jade. Before he can even get a good look at it, though, the monk snatches it back, saying they have arrived at the realm of illusion.
And Zenshin watches them walk toward a massive stone archway. Carved above the archway are the words, Land of Illusion. But it is the couplet, carved on the pillars of that archway, that serves as the philosophical key to the entire epic.
I have the translation of that couplet right here. It reads, "When false is taken for true, true becomes false. Where non-entity is taken for entity, entity becomes non-entity."
Let's really unpack that. When false is taken for true, true becomes false. The author is standing at the threshold of this massive, sprawling family drama that is about to unfold over thousands of pages, and he is telling the reader, do not be fooled. The human reality, the wealth, the political scrambling, the passionate romances, the intense societal pressures that we take so seriously, that is the falsehood. That is the dream.
And the actual true is the cosmic debt, the eternal souls, the karma playing out behind the scenes.
Exactly. The human world is merely a temporary simulated stage constructed specifically for these souls to balance their ancient ledgers. When you take the false human world to be the ultimate truth, you completely lose sight of the actual cosmic reality.
Wow, so Zen Xian tries to follow them through this archway, but suddenly there's a deafening clap of thunder. The earth shakes, the mountains collapse, and he wakes up screaming. He is right back in his study. The mundane world has snapped back into focus.
The dream evaporates, but the framework it established remains. The sprawling, intricate story of aristocratic families in decline that follows this chapter is entirely shadowed by that archway. Every tear shed in the novel is a drop of water being repaid. Every piece of wealth gained or lost is just dust settling in the mortal realm.
It is such a staggering way to open a story. We have a sentient, skyscraper-sized stone, rejected by a goddess, choosing the painful illusions of the mortal world just to feel something. We have a fairy girl composed of affection and regret, bound by a terrifying but beautiful debt of romantic karma. And we have a universe where the line between simulation and reality is intentionally blurred.
What I find most powerful about this opening is how highly applicable it is to our own modern lives. Think about the intense complexities of your own relationships, the times you feel completely out of place, or the pursuits of status that end up feeling hollow.
Right, the times you feel like you're chasing the red dust, knowing it ends in emptiness, but you just can't stop yourself.
If you apply this philosophical framework, even just as a thought experiment, it completely shifts your perspective. Imagine your current reality as a fleeting dream. Imagine your deepest struggles, not as random cruelty, but as the settling of ancient necessary connections. It strips away the anxiety of the mundane and replaces it with a profound, almost peaceful sense of cosmic scale.
It makes you look at everything differently. We now know the cosmic setup. We know the debts that have been incurred, the illusions that mask the truth, and the inescapable pull of the red dust. But ask yourself, what happens when this magical, rejected stone and this tear-bound flower finally lose their memories, descend into the human realm, and meet face to face.
The collision of those two cosmic forces in a fragile human environment is what drives the rest of the masterpiece.
And it leaves us with one final thought to mull over. If the world of wealth, status, and intense emotion is just a temporary stage meant for settling ancient ledgers, look at your own closest relationships today. Are you truly building a future with them, or are you simply repaying a debt of tears from a lifetime you can't even remember? We will leave you with that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.